Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Jameson here with another sequence. This is going to be a follow up to the 15-minute one. We're going to get into a 20-minute little flow today. Again, if you have this time or if you want to shorten it, we have the 15 and 10-minute ones. Now we're going into a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and get our timer started. We have some blocks here. This is going to be the only tool we'll be needing today for a little bit of support. But where we're going to start today is actually on our back, and we're going to start with a little bit of decompression. So let's come to our back. Set up here, I'm going to go over it very quickly. We're going to have the legs, nice little bend of the knees. I'm going to really be pulling the toes up strong. So think of the heels extending in the opposite direction. My feet should be roughly 2 fist widths apart, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to think of gently pressing the heels down and imagine trying to spread the mat apart. As I'm doing that, I'm going to find a little bit of internal rotation for my thighs, adjust my hips, gently come into a chin tuck, pull the chin back, pressing the back of my head into the mat. That's going to be giving me length. So I'm thinking top of the head reaching up, heels reaching in that opposite direction. From here, we're going to start with the hands right onto the belly. And we're just going to start tuning into the breath. I just want you to observe it as it is. If it's shallow, it's shallow. If it's deep, it's deep. If it's quick, it's quick. Just start tuning into the breath, and then we'll slowly start working. Nice big belly breath. That's why I got the hands there. And if you need to make any adjustments to the head, the neck, the hips, feel free to do so. You're not frozen here. So I'm going to start deepening my breath into my lower belly. Feel my belly expand into my hands. Right now I'm continuing to pull my toes up, gently press the heels down, gently pressing the back of my head into the mat. And now as I start tuning into this breath a little bit more, I'm going to move my hands up towards my ribs, and I want to start pulling that breath from this low abdomen, low back space, and think of pulling it more up into that upper back space. Sides of the ribs, upper back between my shoulder blades. So we're really trying to pull that breath. Each inhale, we're thinking of getting taller. We're about a minute and a half in here. Couple things I don't want you doing. We don't want to be tucking the pelvis and smashing the low back into the floor. I want to have that nice little space in the lumbar, that little curve, that natural curvature of the spine. And as you take those inhales, this is where we're thinking of trying to expand. We're trying to create more space between the hips and ribs here to decompress that low back, decompress those hips, decompress the entire spine. Good. From here, we're going to lift our hands straight up to the ceiling, pull the shoulder blades out from under you. Think of making the upper back nice and broad. We're going to reach the hands overhead just slightly. Now the back of my head, arms are reaching up above me. Heels are extending into that opposite direction. Press the heels down a little bit firmer. Big inhales getting long, tall. Exhale, imagine like we're knitting in the front side. Or you can imagine on that exhale like we're tightening a corset while keeping that length and expansion we're finding on the inhale. Keep pulling the toes up nice and strong. These last 30 seconds here, I want you to begin pressing the heels down and pulling them towards the butt hard enough so we get the hips to just barely hover, and we're going to hold for 30 seconds. My butt's still touching the ground, but my hips are now off, and I'm really feeling engagement into the hamstrings. Still taking those nice big breaths, getting longer. Five, four, three, two, and release. Arms down to the side. Go and take a couple breaths here. Just observe what that did. And the decompression breathing, these are little skill sets. They take time to develop. But again, the whole idea of this, opposite sides of the body reaching in different directions, you can almost think of like a tug of war, creating a lot of length and space into the body, whether that's the knees, ankles, hips, spine, neck, wherever you need it. This is going to help you find that length. We can really focus our breath and attention into our areas where we're feeling more tension. All right, let's slowly bend the legs, roll to our side, use the arms to press ourselves up. And we're going to start working now into our next movement. Just start moving the spine. We're going to get into some cat-cows. Nice full inhale. I want you to find extension here. Knees could be anywhere from a fist width to a couple fist widths apart. Toes in, heels out. Find that extension, a little bit of engagement by trying to rip the mat apart with the knees, pulling. Imagine like I'm pulling my hands down towards my hips so I get those lats to pull down. Nice big inhale. Exhale, press hands and feet down. Round out to capacity. We're going for about a minute here, maybe a little bit longer. And again, this is your movement session. So as you're moving through this, if it feels really good to round into cat pose, we can hold and take a couple breaths here. If it feels really good to inhale and hold into extension, we could take a couple breaths here. And again, always being mindful that I can go into other movements if I want. I'm not just stuck in this strict plane of flexion and extension. Let's just get a couple more here. Exhale, last one. Good, let's settle back to center. Now let's get into our next spine movement. We're going to go into some side bending here. So from this tabletop position, again, I'm keeping my spine long. I want to be mindful that I'm not in flexion here. Again, this is a common pattern we'll go into the body from years of sitting. So find just a little bit of extension. I don't have to hyperextend either and cause any more compression. Just kind of naturally where the body goes. I'll pull my left shoulder down, right shoulder comes up. Now I'm going to side bend. As you're side bending here, I don't want to see the hips swaying. Keep gently ripping the knees apart to keep those hips nice and anchored where they're at. I'm looking this to be more of a thoracic spine movement. And you'll notice my shoulders are rotating as well as I bend from side to side. As I side bend to the left, that left arm externally rotates, right arm internal, and then goes back into that opposite direction. Again, doing our best to stay tuned into our breath this whole time. Head should be going from side to side as well with this. Just a few more here. 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax. Take a quick breather. Now we're going to go into a little bit of a rotation, but we're going to add a hip stretch. So we're going to combine a couple things here for efficiency. Grab your blocks if you like. Again, you don't need them. You can go straight from tabletop on this one. I just like elevating my hands a little bit for working this. I'm going to go into a pigeon stretch. I'm going to step my right leg back, rotate it in. My left foot's going to swing in just a little bit, and I'm going to start sitting back into this left hip. Notice my back leg is lifted. I want you to sit back only as far as you can while maintaining that leg up. If you feel like it's got to drop, then we'll drop it. Press that back foot and shin into the mat. Make sure the heel's pointing out. And then we'll walk our blocks over a little bit. Notice my left hand, the hip that I'm working into, is back a little bit further than the right. We're going to hold here for about 20 seconds, and then we're going to add in a little rotation. And as I'm sitting here, I don't have to hold in one position and just hold a stretch. I can kind of rock the hips from side to side. You have the option of even reaching that left arm forward and across, that right arm back. That can get good stretching into that QL, low back area. We can do the opposite. Right arm really reaches, left arm pulls back. Good. Let's come back to center with these blocks. I'm going to have them both in the same spot, or your hands can be on the floor. I'll show you just so you can see. And from here, we're going to go into a little rotation now. I'm going to exhale as I open. As I come back forward, I'm going to inhale, reach across and side bend to my right. Side bend to the left and rotate back. You can sit a little deeper if you like. Again, this is all whatever is feeling good on your body. Don't feel like you have to look like me or get into this deep of a pigeon position. Let's get one more here. All right, let's slowly step out, come back into our tabletop position. We'll go right in the other side. If you got it, you can shake that left leg out real quick once you step it back. And we're going to rotate that rear leg in. Right leg's going to come in just a little bit. I'll sit back into that right hip now. Again, be mindful of keeping the pressure over this right side. A lot of people, when they go to pull back into this hip, the left hip will slump down. And now I got all the tension and everything's over here. I want to keep the weight over that right side now, inside we're working. And again, you have a lot of freedom here. We'll get into those twists again. Just kind of feed the body whatever it needs. Really no right or wrong here, just as long as we're not feeling any sort of pain or discomfort. Let's come back to center. Work those rotations now. Inhale, reach across. Again, notice my shoulders, my spine, everything's working here as I reach across. And then rotate open. Notice we're getting all the motions of the spine. We did some side bending, lateral flexion, lateral extension. We did some cat-cows, flexion and extension. And now we're doing some rotations. Slowly come out. All right, now if you do have your blocks, I'm going to recommend you use them. We're going to go through some groundwork, some rockers right now. Again, you don't need them. I just find in my own body, I like having my hands elevated. It really helps me get into that back space. So let's go ahead and start just with a single side rocker. I'm going to face back real quick just so you can see how we're going to set up. My knees are going to be together. I'm going to slide my feet over to the left just a little bit, walk my blocks over, and I'm going to start rocking into my right side. We're going to be here for about 45 seconds. You notice my right hand sitting back a little bit further than my right. Again, there's no right or wrong with the hands. If it feels good to get length into that right side as I rock back, that's fine too. Got a full 45 seconds here. Notice I'm not going deep. You don't have to sit all the way back and come all the way up. Just find a nice motion where I can keep pressure and engagement into this right glute and hamstring. I'm thinking of ripping that right knee and shin out on the mat. My right foot is really pulling up. That's helping me find the hamstring. 3, 2, 1. Good. From here, we're just going to step that left leg back as if we're going into a pigeon. I'm going to keep it elevated. Now we're going to go into our pigeon rocker. Keep that back foot elevated. Notice when I come forward, I'm not letting my hip pass my knee. It's staying back behind that knee. A lot of pressure and weight now into this right side, so I'm really feeling that glute and hammy work. As I sit back, I'm continuously rotating that back leg inwards, imagining like my foot's being pulled straight back behind me and inwards. 20 more seconds. Starting to warm up now. You should really feel that right glute and hammy. If you're getting a lot of pinching in the front side of the joint, we elevate the hands even more. And again, this doesn't have to be a huge range of motion. 3, 2, 1. Good. I'm going to set my knee down right inside of this opposite foot. I'm going to think of squeezing my knee and ankle into each other. Walk the blocks back. Pull the right hand up to the chest. I'm going to open up towards my right side. Float my left hand off and hold. Again, as we hold here, I should be feeling a lot of support from this backside. If low back's really on fire, we can pull into a little tuck. Nothing major. Keep that curve. And back to those decompress we started with. Big inhales. Think low back, up into that upper back space. Gentle chin tuck. 20 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. That right side should be on fire. Blocks go to the side. We got one more movement here. We're going to go into some pigeon tracers. So now I'm going to rock into that same pigeon movement. Now my back knee, as it comes forward, it's going to slide in the back of my opposite. Right hand comes up, and I swivel on that right kneecap. So I'm going to be wanting to pivot, open, close. So I sit back, load, release. Open, close, kneecaps pointing in. And we're going for time here. Really make sure we're focusing that rotation from that femur up into this hip capsule. Sit back, side bend to the right, forward, side bend to the left. Really feeling that glute now. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Good. Go and shake that right side out. That was 3 minutes of work on the right. We're going to go right into the left. So over to that left side, single side pigeon, knees almost touching, single side rockers. Swing the feet into the right side just a little bit. Blocks can walk off to the left, left arm back. Start sitting into that left side. We're going to go straight through on this one. Very little breaks. Keep with your breath. If at any point you feel really fatigued, like you can't keep doing reps, we can just sit back and hold. You can make a smaller range of motion, or at any time if you got to come out and take a break, take a break. I test you to try to get through these 3 straight minutes on one side though. It's going to give a lot of good feedback. Again, we should be feeling this glute really fire up. And if we're really feeling it work here in the groundwork, then we don't really need to play around with too much weight outside of this. We can get strong in these patterns. Right leg back, right into our pigeon. Again, notice as I sit back, everything's pulling open to this left side. Right leg's rotating in, left hip is opening. 20 more seconds here. Now we're going to go into that iso pigeon, so get ready. And again, when we get to this iso pigeon, don't feel like you have to pull your hands up. If for some reason balance is really tough, maybe keep one hand down. Don't feel like you got to get to the fullest point like I'm showing you here. 5, 4, 3, 2, good. Sit back, drop that knee right inside that opposite foot and ankle. Squeeze them together for support. Now I'm going to pull my left hand back, and we're going to hold. Again, if you feel like balance is an issue, we can keep just fingertips on the block. I can try to balance with one. So if you feel like you're really all over the place, use the support. Keep a hand down. Find the balance. Usually if we're out of balance too, we want to make sure our head is right over this left thigh and kneecap. So if we have a mirror, we could check that. Keep holding here. Find those breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, good. Blocks to the side, right into those little pigeon tracers. So same, drop back, and now knee comes forward, hand forward. We kick out, swivel on that left kneecap. Notice again, when I come forward, my thigh is staying just above the kneecap, and I'm not passing it. I don't want to go here. I want to keep this hip back. Find that rotation from that hip capsule. 15 seconds. We're almost there. Keep working. Three, 2, good. Relax. Sit your hips all the way back. Quick little break. Let everything cool off. We can just do some little side-to-side rockers here. Just feel really good on the hips and low back. Just trying to get those thighs to spin into out. All right. Come up to our couple finishing movements here. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes under. We're going to kick back to your deep squat. Again, as we get back, make sure we got some pressure on that big toe. Weight's more directed towards that outer edge of the foot. We'll keep the hands down. If your heels got to stay up, they can stay up. If you can get them down, cool, we can get them down. Again, we can have support, a weight, a kettlebell here if we need it, if you're unable to access this with nice strong feet and arches. We're just going to hold for 30 seconds. Again, if your heels are up, it's fine. This is where you're at then. Still trying to maintain good feet. Here I can play with my toes, try to spread them a little bit more. Anchor down and hold. Let's have our blocks by our side because we're going to go into our forward fold. Some of you might need those. Good, let's take a big inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to go into our forward fold. So that butt's going to go up, my feet are ripping apart, and now I'm going to spin my shins and thighs in, trying to get my kneecaps to point in and across each other. If for some reason you can't touch the ground, this is where we elevate the floor with blocks. Wherever you're at, we want to be able to palm that floor. If you have the access to the ground, you have that access, we're going to hold. And again, I want this active. My feet are ripping apart. I have a little micro bend to my knees. I'm not locking them out. Little micro bend, and then I'm rotating in, trying to maintain those strong feet. I'm going to give a side view for when we go into this next movement. We're going to finish today with some squinging, or simply squat to hinge, squat to forward fold. So we're in our forward fold. Let's slowly work back into our squat. So my goal here is to keep my weight back. I don't want to drive the knees forward, putting compression here into the joints in the front side. I want to keep everything back. So I keep the weight back, start spinning my shins and thighs open, knees point out. I'm all the way to my deep squat. Now we go back to that hinge. Feet rip apart, shins and thighs rotate in. We fold forward. And now you have options here. If you have access to this deep squat and hinge, you keep working this range. If you don't, you can work a smaller range. Open, close. I can even do just like a little flossing motion here where there's barely any movement, but I'm working that out to in of my femurs. So again, wherever you're at, whatever range you want to go to is on you. Just make sure we're keeping the hips and the weight back, more directed into the tissues on the back side of the body. Last two here. Good. From here, let's come down to our deep squat, back into tabletop. I'm going to have you go all the way onto your back now. I want you to lay on your back, legs straight, arms out to the side, palms up. Just a little minute cool down. Let the body go where it wants. And I want you to bring all your awareness to your nasal passages, where the air is coming in and out of your nose, maybe right to that upper lip area. And just observe the breath as it is. Don't try to control it. For these next 30 seconds, just observe the body as it is, the breath coming in and out as it is, the rise and fall of the chest or belly. Check in with your body, see how it feels after all that movement. You should have your eyes closed here. And before we open our eyes and finish, I just want you to keep your eyes closed. Thank yourself for moving your body today, for taking care of your body, for doing your best to move forward in a better manner. And just remember to always be easy and gentle on yourselves. Go ahead and inhale, lift those hands high overhead as you lay on your back. Exhale and hug the knees into the chest. You're going to slowly roll over to your right side, releasing the legs into a fetal position, and then use the strength of your arms to press yourselves up. Great job today. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for our next sequence.